Audio, give us a thumbs up if you can hear us online now. And then we'll wrap things up with the market updates. And of course, we got a real hot off the press deal for you tonight. Like literally, we got it about a half an hour prior to us coming out here tonight. So our poor graphic designer rushed to get it done, and we got it hot off the press for you tonight. All right, with that being said, one more thing. We are going to be giving away some swag tonight, so we want you to participate with us. So make sure you guys break out your phones throughout the meeting, take photos, take videos, post them to your social media, Instagram, Facebook, tag the @KellyFry team in all of your posts. That's the only way we can see the posts is if you tag us. You still use the hashtags Investors Performance Group and IPG 2023, and we're going to be picking a winner at the end of the night for the best post for a swag bag. All right, without further ado, we're going to bring up our first guest speaker, and that is Debbie Balfour. Debbie is a real estate investing coach. Yep, give her a round of applause. She helps her clients by creating a personalized real estate investment strategy so they can achieve financial freedom. As a professional real estate investor, she concentrates on land development and single-family home rentals. So thank you so much for coming out. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to get you a mic, and I'll give you this. I'll get your presentation fired up.
You guys show me how to use this.
Yeah, just that button there once we get it going.
Okay.
There we go. So just clip that onto yourself there. All right, and I'll fire up your presentation.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Okay, oops. Stand by, Debbie. There we go. You're up.
Thank you, Cameron, and thank you, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really honored to be able to present to you today. So I wanted to talk to you about how 2 walls can make you increase your cash flow. So back in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, I purchased a condo in Abbotsford. So it was $230,000, and I negotiated down to $229,000. But it's located right on McCallum Road, off of Highway 1. So there's a Starbucks there right on the corner. There is a McDonald's there and Subways. So you know that McDonald's and Starbucks are not in the business of coffee and and burgers, but they're actually in the real estate business. So it's a good area to invest in. But this was an older condo, 1982, and you can see this is like the kitchen area here. So it's total original state in there. I think they did a little bit of, they changed a bit of the carpets, but it was still like very much like 3 different flooring in there. And there was also like all of the doors and everything was that brown, plywood with like wallpaper on it, etc. on there. But I did know that, so it was 1,059 square feet for a 2-bedroom and had 2 bathrooms. So nice, big, spacious, lots of windows in it. It was on the 3rd floor. It was a corner unit in there. And but the tenant that was in there before was paying $800 per month in rent. Right? So when I spoke to my realtor, and we looked at it, and we if I kept it, I just renovated it because there's no way I would rent it back out the way it was. And I rented it out as a 2-bedroom. I would get $1,400 per month in rental rate on there, and I would also, if I got the appraisal after, would be about $147,000 on there. So, but we looked at it and we found that right here in where you see from the kitchen to there was their dining room area, right? And you can see it's got a window, it's got a heating source right there, and it's got a light. So guess what I saw? Bedroom, right? So, and it has a large living room that was so large that you couldn't put enough, a sofa and chairs in there. It was enough to do a dining room and a living room in there. Okay. So I went to my mortgage broker and I said to him, Kyle Green. He always talks about this, and the first time I heard him talk about it, I wrote it down. It stayed in my memory. Something called mortgage plus improvements. So what I'm going to talk about is kind of like, it's a kind of a burr because I did it the easy way. So I went to Kyle and I said, hey, I heard you talk about mortgage plus improvements. I want to know more about that. I'd like to use that strategy. So I've got this condo that I want to renovate, and I'd like to get the mortgage plus the improvements all approved up front. So I'd like to get that construction, the renovation costs included in my mortgage. So he was able. So what I did was I got my contractor to give me a quote at how much this was going to cost. And at the time, I planned on knocking down the wall, opening it up. So I got a quote for like $57,000, and I gave it to Kyle and I said, "Could you get this approved?" So they came in. The appraisers came in. They looked at the home, and based on the list of renovations that I planned, I got it approved. I found out later that Cal pulled some strings and got me some exceptions to get a bit more, to get that full 57,000 approved. But I got 57,000 approved. But the way mortgage plus improvements work is that you don't actually get the money until you actually do the renovation, and they come back and they approve you for, they say, yes, you've done what you've said you've done, and it's now gone up in value. So it's worth that. So so I went ahead and I did the renovation, and there's the before and after. So that was the kitchen. That's the kitchen after, right? You can see I closed up now. Before there was an opening in the wall. Actually, the other back here, we had that. Ooh, back here, there was an opening, right? And no opening now. So close that up. This was the living room, and that's it after. You can see how large that living room is. All right. That was the second bedroom. So the second bedroom has its own balcony on it. And that's the master bedroom, and it does have an ensuite in there. So that was the after on there. And that's the bathrooms. So funny thing about these bathrooms, they look like they're new new tubs and new tiles, but they're not. What I did is I resurfaced it or reglazed it. So I called in a glazing company, and I do resurfacing, and they sprayed it all. So I didn't pull out anything out of there. I didn't remove any tiles or anything. It cost me $900 to do both the shower and the bathtub and the tiles in there. And they look brand new. The only thing with this is you can't use bleach in it, right? But, so, and then I had a nice new bathroom, and I replaced the doors on there. Okay. So let's talk about this. So this is the dining room area, and this is the kitchen, the entrance to the kitchen. So this is what I did. So I closed off that opening between the kitchen and the dining room, and then I created a wall there. I put a wall there and a door, and in this one I did a barn door on it. Right? So this was so you can see closed there, and I've got a closet there, and then that's a little bedroom there. My tenant right now, her son's in there, and it holds a single bed, and he even has his desk in there. You see, I've got a light, and then I replaced all the baseboards in there, and we've got the window there. Okay, so the results. So it only took me 1 month to do this renovation. The appraised value was $295,000 on there. Oh, I had a mistake on the first slide. I just realized I had one. It was two. It didn't go down in value. It was supposed to go up in value. Sorry, it just clicked. Yeah. And the rental rate was 1900. And guess what? It was one tenant I ended up having. Right? So my one tenant, just her grandson comes to visit on the weekend. So she wanted the second bedroom, and she wanted the bedroom for her, another room for her home office. So I put it out there. I did a ghost ad to start with for this place, just describing what I was going to do. And I put it at 1800, and I got, within 24 hours, I had 50 inquiries about it. So that was too much. I mean, too many inquiries. That means I wasn't charging enough. So when I actually put it on the market, I put it for 1900. Right? And I got an amazing tenant. She's still there. She has a cleaner that comes and cleans for her. And she does have her son in there now, but for a long time it was just her in there. Right? And I have a storage room downstairs, and she wanted storage. So I charge her another $35 for that. So she gets 2 parking spaces, but she has to pay for the storage of 35. So now I'm at 2030 that she's paying, because I had a second storage room for another condo I have in there. And she wanted more storage, so I gave her that one too. Right? On there. So I want to tell you about some lessons learned in this, though. It sounds like this was like a really great story. Everything's wonderful. So here's what I learned. I went to, and then I've got get it in writing in there. So when I started doing this, I waited for the strata manager to come back from vacation. So I didn't start any renovations until then. I had drawings, but I sent off to him and I said, here's what I want to do. And I listed all the renovations. Please let me know what I need to do to go forward. I want to make sure that I'm following all the strata rules, everything. I don't want to, I want to be a friend of the strata and not an enemy of the strata. So I said, tell me what I need to do, and I'll do it. So he says, oh, thank you for the update. Here's what you need to do to switch off the water, etc. So I'm like, wow, this is one of the best stratas I've ever heard of, right? So I went ahead but before I took possession of the home, I also called the city of Abbotsford. And I said, here's what I'm doing. I'm putting in I'm filling in one wall that's already there, and I'm putting a non-structural wall on there. Do I need to have a permit? And the person I spoke to said, no, you don't need a permit. Are you doing any demolition? No. Are you moving any plumbing? No. Are you moving any electrical? No. So you fall on the exceptions, right? So you don't need a permit. My mistake is not getting that in writing. So last year I decided, after I did this condo, I did a second one. I rinsed and repeated, did the same thing again, sent my strata manager, this is what I'm doing, etc. And got the same results from my appraisals and everything. In the same building, same seller. So, but what I was looking, like, it had to be the right layout, because not all of the units actually had that layout, that that the dining room had a window for it, right? So I looked for very specific. It was on the 3rd floor, the top floor again, and it was a corner unit. Yeah, so you have to look for that specific layout, because not all, couldn't do it with all the condos in there. But yeah, so last year, my other condo, I decided, market's about to go down. I can see it now. That one was, my tenant had just left, so I thought, I'm going to put it up for sale. So I put it up for sale, and I had people ask, where was this put up by permit? I said no permit was needed. Did the strata approved? Yes, the strata manager, gave me the okay to go forward. Well, a month into trying to sell it, I got a note from the strata saying, you've advertised this as a 3-bedroom. We don't have 3 bedrooms in this place. And we never authorized this. So they wanted to come to inspect, and then they came to inspect, and they asked for permits. And of course, I had no permits. right? I said the city of Abbotsford didn't need any permits. They wanted electrical permits. I said I didn't pull any electrical, so the electrician didn't have to pull any permits because all he did was replace, light fixtures and, wall, switches and that sort of stuff. So I decided to write to the city of Abbotsford to prove to them I didn't need a permit. So I wrote to the city of Abbotsford to say, this is what I'm doing. Do I need a permit? And to my absolute surprise, is they said, yes, you do. Because you are in a condo. And we need to, and so yes, because you're in a condo, it is considered multifamily. And for multifamily, you need a permit. So I have been for the last year back and forth between the city of Abbotsford and the Strata, asking the Strata to give me approval conditional on that the city of Abbotsford will approve that, will say everything's good, that they approve that I go thing. I've been back and forth with Strata managers, like back and forth. The Strata's writing me up saying I'm not doing anything about this, but I've been in constant communication with the Strata manager. I sent back the Strata manager, and another Strata manager came in. He left, back to the first Strata manager. Like, it's been just like crazy. Constant communication, say, I asked permission to do this. You gave me permission. You never said that we needed to go forward. Please explain this to the Strata committee. So they reported me to the city of Abbotsford. So then I got a letter from the bylaw officer asking about, I want to come to inspect. I went, yes, come and inspect, right? Great. And so I sent back saying, yes, I do have walls there. This was the situation. When would you like to come and inspect? And he says, well, I don't need to come and inspect now because you've just confirmed that you have walls there. So you need to go forward and ask for a permit to do this. So I have been waiting forever for that to go for the permit. So I eventually put in the permit request with Abbotsford without the approval, because I was told that it would be it could be in for 1 year, the permit, while I was working with the city of Abbotsford. A week ago, last week, I called the city of Abbotsford. Oh, I finally got last week, the letter from the Strata manager okaying this. So I called the city of Abbotsford to say, I've got the permission from the Strata. Who can I send it to? And they said, oh, we already approved your permit. Without that letter from the Strata. You see what I mean? Like they don't follow any rules. So I'm going tomorrow to pick up that permit and then to set up the plan for the inspection. But I will take that letter from the Strata anyways. But everything was done through just me trusting that people I'm talking to were good. I did have proof with the Strata manager because it was all by email. But if you're ever in this situation, don't get the city to send you that letter saying an email saying that it's exempt, and where in the actual bylaws it says you're exempt on that. And also make sure that the Strata, not the Strata manager, but the Strata council has okayed, you get a letter from there. Right? So yeah, so I've had a bit of heartache around this. So I couldn't sell my property because of these things, but I have great tenants in there and I'm doing really well. So my second one that I have that caused me all of this stress, I'm actually having a midterm rental for $3,100. And so yeah, I've had students in there, I've had a professor, and now I have an engineer that changed his own batteries on the door. So thank you all. I hope you learned from this. My name is Debbie Balfour. I am not only a professional real estate investor, but I'm also a real estate investing success coach. So I am, for any new investors here, I am kicking off my pilot program for new investors. It's a 5-week program. And for Cam's group, I'm offering you it for $97. So it's 90% off. So it will be $9,997 normally. But because this is my pilot program and because, you know, you're friends of IPG, I'm offering it to you for 10% of the price.
Woo, that's awesome. Excellent. Let's open it up for a few questions. We got a little bit of time here for that. Did anyone have any questions for Debbie on, you know, the reno she did, what she did? Yes, we got a question back there. And we're just going to repeat the questions back just for everyone listening on YouTube.
I have a question, not a reno, but I have a question. So what's the plan for the condos now? Are you going to sell it or are you going to keep it?
All right, so what's the plan for the condos? Sell it or keep them?
So at present with the market the way it is, I'm going to keep it. You know, once the market is stable again, I will look at selling it. I was always on a 5-year plan on this. It was my pet project. It was something that I wanted to, because I was new at real estate investing. I wanted to do BRRRR, but I wanted to do something small. So I would really advise you to do the same. Start with something small. After that, I actually BRRRR'd 3 properties, homes in the Okanagan. So it just gave me my jumping point. And by doing this, it also gave me the idea of when I walked through and I saw a property the first time, that I was able to actually estimate how much that would cost, because I would, you know, like for flooring, etc. And my contractor in the Okanagan was actually quite shocked. That, you know, I would take him and I go, so, you know, I'm thinking 140,000. What do you think? And he was like, yeah, that was exactly the amount I was going to quote you. So it does help to, you know, I would say don't start big, start something small. And that Mortgage Plus improvement is only available on something small. So with the benefit of Mortgage Plus improvement is I didn't have to go back to the bank to say, oh, I want to refinance. I didn't have to wait a year. I didn't have to pay more legal fees or anything like that. I already had it. It was sitting with my lawyer. I just had to pay for a second appraisal. It came in, verified that it was, you know, it was worth the extra, and that amount was given to my lawyer to give to me. And then my mortgage went up to increase that.
Now, before we jump into that question, just for the crowd, because I know there's some new people who are just starting out on their investing journey, what does BRRRR stand for?
BRRRR, yes, sorry about that. I should know that as a coach. So BRRRR stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. So sometimes it's just the first 3 R's, but you know the traditional is the 4th R, which is the repeat, which I did.
Because I say you did mention you rinsed and repeated, so you hit the end of the R.
Perfect BRRRR there, but without having to go back and pay extra for refinancing fees. But they only give it's only for small amounts. It's usually around the 45,000. So my second one, they said, you're not getting 57,000 again. You're going to get 45. I only paid 45 on the reno.
Right.
So.
Question over there.
How do you market your midterm property? What platform do you use?
I actually use Airbnb as a 30+ rental, because in Abbotsford, you're not allowed to have in a condo. You're not allowed to have short-term rental. So 30 days plus is considered long-term. So I'm able to do that. I put it on Airbnb and my, you know, the restrictions on it is this is a 30+ rental. And and that's, you know, the professor came in, he was teaching at UFV. I'm only minutes of walk to UFV. So he was there. And then a student came in looking for student accommodation. So she came through Airbnb first, stayed with me while she looked for her for accommodations, couldn't find anything that she liked because she was coming from Saudi Arabia, and she was used to, you know, like basement apartments were not her. So she asked if I could turn that into a rental for her. So I was able to do that. Right after she left, you know, I put on, before she left, I put it back on Airbnb and had the engineer that came in. He again came in for 1 month and said, I love it here. what's the, is there an opportunity to make this for me to stay longer? So he's here until the end of November now.
So how often have you found that where people are staying longer than the 30 days versus just the 30-day rental?
So far, the 3 people that I've rented to, all of them have stayed longer.
Excellent.
Coming
Excellent.
in, so.
Any questions online for us there? Nope. All right. I saw another question here. Yep.
Oh, look,
Sorry, just right behind first. She had her hand, then we'll get to you. Yep.
Colin, you took your hand back.
What's the cash flow on that first?
So the first one I'm getting about with the interest rates, I'm still 300 up on there. When I first started, my mortgage was only 850. Right.
And then what's the vacancy on like the midterm? Do you have any times in between?
I only had one time that I had 1 month in between, but so far about this last one between the student and the engineer, it was like she left and they came in.
All right, and Claudia.
I was curious about the technicality there with the strata about changing because they said just changing to 2-bedroom, from 2-bedroom to 3. And I was wondering, like, how did they justify it? In the end, they accepted.
So good question.
Do they now have 3 bedrooms also, or do you put a 2-bedroom and then?
Exactly,
So it just
very
named
good
it
question.
differently. Yeah, that
So-
was just one.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to advertise it as a 3-bedroom, and I'm not allowed to increase occupancy for a 2, for a 2. It has to stay
Okay, can
2-bedroom
four.
occupancy.
Yeah,
So it
can
could be
do
4
maximum
people.
4 people, not 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
because that's what I was curious about.
Yeah. So, so when we advertise it to sell it, it will be a 2-bedroom plus den. But once you're in there, once you're in there, however you want to use it, it's up to you, right? As long as there's 2 parking spots, right? So, go
Excellent.
ahead.
Question online.
From online. How much is Debbie getting for the 30-day rental on Airbnb?
On Airbnb, it was $3,200, and that's why when I switched it to midterm, I gave him $100 discount.
Not bad. Not
And
too
he was
shabby.
happy with it. It's at $3,100. So.
And then is your first property, you're still running that as a rental right now?
Yeah,
Just straight rental?
it's still a long-term rental.
Right.
Yeah,
Excellent.
and I don't think she intends to go anywhere. She's so happy there.
And all we get is a 3.5%
Exactly.
raise right now.
But she's
All
an
right.
amazing tenant. I can't
Excellent.
say.
All right. Yep.
Sorry, just with the 3 bedrooms from the 2, were there any strata rules or any pushback saying you cannot do this anymore, or have they put strata rules in place saying you can't add an extra bedroom in the strata?
No, nothing's changed yet. That's what they're afraid of now, though, by okaying mine, that they're going to think. But I mean, the strata manager, actually, that's why he didn't see a problem with it, because he was like, I love it, what you're doing. I'm worried about all the other people in here, owners, that haven't been upgrading theirs, because the second one I did, the subfloor was gone on it, right? So he says, I'm not worried about you, I'm worried about the others in here, right? So that's why he was like, yeah, go for it. He didn't see a problem. So he was on my side. But yeah, but that's what they're afraid of. But I explained that, look, it increased the cap rate for them. When my place is going to go for more, that will increase what they can sell theirs for.
Absolutely.
Right? So but remember, strata council people they're not real estate investors. They don't understand it. They're just little homeowners that,
Totally. All right. Well, Debbie, we appreciate it. Thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
out. I'm going to steal that microphone back from you there. Excellent. All right. So we are going to switch up our program just a little bit today. All right. So normally we do our Tales from the Trenches segment, but our speaker, speaking of stratas, is on a strata call meeting right now. So he's just in the parking lot trying to wrap that up. So we're going to bump over to, here we go. We're going to go into our city at a glance. So we're going to bring up our very own Elisa Donnelly. She's going to be running through what is happening in the city of Burnaby and what you might need to start paying attention to if you're thinking about investing there. So without further ado, let's bring up Elisa. Give a round of applause. There we go. Here you go.
Remind me that.
There we go.
Hi guys, so this is our regular section about different cities. Today we're going to cover Burnaby. So again, so our stats is here. So population of Burnaby just under 250,000 people. That's in accordance with Statistics of Canada 2021. So if we compare to population of 2016, it's an increase of 7%. So again, if you guys remember my previous presentation, so compared to Langley and Surrey, that's not that much. Langley, I think, is 12.5, and Surrey about 11% increase of population. So Burnaby is behind. So they estimate the population to grow about 360,000 people by 2050. Average age is 40 years old. So what's interesting about Burnaby, so vacancy rate, when I went to the CMHC website to look at the vacancy rate, so North Burnaby, we have about 1%, but South Burnaby, only 0.2%, which is quite a big spread, I guess. So I'm going to talk about a few projects. So one of them, municipal project, and why I like to highlight municipal projects, because they usually create jobs. So one of these projects is a Burnaby Hospital, a redevelopment project. So Burnaby Hospital is actually the third largest hospital in the province. So it's a pretty big organization. So what's going to happen? So this project has two phases. So the first phase is going to start, well, it started already, it's under construction. So, and will comprise of construction of a new pavilion. It's Keys and Betty Biddy Pavilion. So that will add 83 beds. And then there'll be a mental health maternity unit, some intensive care units, and other stuff. So I guess, and the second phase, that will be expanding the cancer service. So it will be about 160 beds added, new BC Cancer Service Center, new medical imaging department, and emergency department, and of course additional parking, because there's no parking in that area. So this is just a timeline of the project. You can see as all municipal projects, it's been planned back in 2013. So now we in the phase one. And so they're just doing construction of the phase one. And hopefully soon enough, we're going to move to the phase two. Okay, so this is just a rendering, how the new structure is going to look. So nice. So again, why highlight this project? Creation of jobs, right? So people are going to move in, nurses, doctors. So again, will create pressure on rental market, on real estate market. So it's a good thing for us investors. Okay, so the next project I would like to highlight is the Metrotown. So it's one of the biggest shopping centers, and probably everyone's familiar. So Metrotown is going to be developed as well, and it's going to be quite different. So again, two phases right now. There are actually two owners for this project. So the phase one is actually, again, under construction. They already complete the excavation. So it will, so this phase will include 3 towers. I think the highest tower will be 65 floors. So it will create about 2,100 homes. And again, as I mentioned in my last presentation, so there's this tendency, so the new malls is not going to be malls like we see them right now, like huge buildings with a bunch of shops. So it's going to be residential towers at the upper portion and commercial units at the bottom. So same thing, same concept is going to be applied to Metrotown. So as I said, so this is phase one. Construction has begun, 3 towers. Again, at the top we have residential units, at the bottom commercial units, restaurants, retail stores, and so on. Okay, so yeah, so as I mentioned, the first phase will include 3 towers, 65 stories, 45 stories, and 33 stories. So there's just some rendering, how it's gonna look like. So that's phase 1, and that's the phase 2. Okay, so phase 2, I believe, will be 5 towers, and actually, I think it will involve demolition of Sears store. So yeah, so that is going to be sometimes in the future. But for overall Metro Town, it's not going to remain. In the future, it's going to the entire mall will be demolished and eventually redeveloped. There's only preliminary plans for that, but it could be about 15,000 new homes built on the place where the Metro Town is located right now. Again, it will be walkable malls with some probably like parks and some, just the areas for people to have coffee. Okay, so that's about Metro Town. And now we're moving closer to Coquitlam. So Coquitlam, this area is a Lougheed Town Center. So it's located right on the border between Coquitlam and North Burnaby. And we kind of covered a little bit about what's happening in Coquitlam. So we talked about Fraser Mill. It's a huge development. I think it was 29 towers. So Lougheed Town Center. So this development is kind of the same, almost the same scale as a Fraser Mill. So here's just overall view. So it's like, yeah, it's basically a little town here. Again, so where we have Lougheed Mall right now, so this structure will be demolished and new towers will be constructed. Right now, the phase 1 is nearly completed, and I believe people already moved in. So the first 4 towers, it's located right here. So it comprises of residential units and some rental units. Okay, and so once the entire project is complete, so it's about, I think, 37 acres of development. So there'll be 20 towers. The highest one will be 65 stories, and there will be about 10,000 units of housing with nearly 11 million square feet of residential space. So again, we see the same story we see in Brentwood Mall, in Metrotown Mall. This idea of walkable malls is applied in Lougheed Center as well. So we have towers, and at the bottom we have all the stores. Okay, so just again, some more rendering. They will be creating like a very unique overpass connecting SkyTrain station with the shopping center. So which is kind of neat. So yeah, so that's what's happening in Burnaby. Again, we see a lot of developers invest in the Burnaby, lots of construction happening. So again, because there is a demand on rental units, there is demand on real estate. So that's why we see this huge development still happening and going through. But anyways, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. I'm just going to reset the presentation up over here. And we're going to bring up our next speaker for one of our more popular segments here. And that is called Tales from the Trenches. Now, the reason why we implemented Tales from the Trenches in our regular shows, especially those who are new, is because when you go to seminars, when you go to events, everyone always talks about the cash flow you can earn and the money that you can make in real estate. And then you become a landlord, or something happens in your property. So we like to show the other side. One, for 2 reasons. One, because if you can avoid it, we're going to show you how to avoid it, learn from other people's mistakes. Or 2, if it's completely unavoidable, right? Things happen, accidents happen. How do you deal with it in an efficient manner so that way you can move on right away? And to do that, we have an exciting tale for you today. Mr. Danny Gerbrandt, why don't you come and join us here? And we're going to be doing Season 7, Episode 9, Three's Company. And it's not like the sitcom. All right, I'll mic you up there, and you can share your story. Click onto your. Yep. Perfect. That's all yours.
Good old crazy tenants. They're not always fun. This one's especially fun. It's a house we've had in Maple Ridge for Probably the better part of 10 years. And my old assistant's son had lived there, who was a doctor, was spoiled because the tenant paid his rent, was a normal thing, but he went off and bought a house. So we got a new tenant who him and his lovely wife and 2 kids decided they were going to move in. Well, at that point, he let me know that his wife's good friend was going to be staying with them for a little bit. Well, we found out that's not the case 3 years later. It's actually his wife, his girlfriend, and him with 2 kids. And then I also found a dog in there too. So good times. I did just a random, I kind of leaned on him a little bit just because I don't like him as a person. And when I don't like you as a person, I make things difficult. So I decided I was going to go do an inspection. Crayon all up and down the walls. The thing's never been cleaned. There's boxes piled up from the day they moved in. They've been there the better part of 5 years now. But he always pays his rent on time, so I kind of just let it slide. So I phoned the ex-wife, who's now renting somewhere else, and I said, look, you're going to be on the hook for half the damage here. You're on the lease. You've moved someone in illegally. I'm going after you. And I've managed to get her to send me a termination of the lease. Now, the problem is she would only send it to me as a text, and I went with that and then found out that technically I need an actual form signed. But after talking with one of Kelly's guys, he thinks he might be able to run this thing through and gas the guy. Problem is it's under rent substantially. The house would normally rent for about $3,700 to $3,800, and I have him in there at $2,490 with our lovely rent increases we've been gifted. So this is where we're at now. I've got a house that has literally the shit been kicked out of it. I've got him, a girlfriend who's not on the lease. I've got another wife that's living somewhere else, and this is the mess that I've found myself in. So I said I'd let Kelly know how it plays out in the days to come, but this is the fun stuff you get. My favorite tenant I ever had was the one that died in the unit, but because he paid by EFT, he managed to pay his month's rent. We also had to replace the floors. He'd been in there for a bit. Hot summer.
Oh. Excellent. Does anyone have any questions for Danny while he's here? No? I mean, yeah, go ahead, Joel.
Fire inspection. Fire inspector found him. So it was actually on a building in Vancouver that we were just in the process of buying. We found this out on the Thursday. We completed on the Monday. They hauled the guy out in a bucket and managed to find an insurance company to replace the floors over the weekend so they weren't in breach because they really wanted us to complete.
Oh my God. That's fantastic.
It was interesting.
I know Kelly's definitely had a couple scenarios. There was a period where we said, if you don't pay your rent, Kelly ends up offing you. It was a joke because she had, I think, 3 in a row within a short period of time. So
you know what? For the majority, most of my tenants are great. I get very few weirdos. This guy on Best Street, he's different. Christmas Eve, going back 2 years on the same tenancy, the wife calls me and said, he's been arrested. He tried to stab me. It's Christmas Eve. And I'm like, okay, so are we getting notice? Well, I'm not sure yet. Why are you calling me? Like, bail him out, call it a day. But it's been a troublesome tenancy. I just let it slide because rent was always on time, but I probably should have been more on top of him, just realizing now I don't care for him much. So,
all right, excellent. Well, I'm curious to know, so you're working with Jim right now.
I just talked to them. They're away, but they're going to come and deal with them.
Because what I'm excited, Jim comes out and speaks regularly at these segments. It would be good to have maybe the 2 of you come and speak and tag team that one to find out what happens afterwards. I saw we have another question right there.
How much notice do you need to give your tenants to inspect the unit? And do you need to give a rent inspection, or do you actually
we put in our addendum, we've been through some stuff, and we put in our addendum now that 24 hours notice, we're allowed to inspect. And we don't do it often. I only do it when I know there's a problem. For most of my tenants, I have no issues. It's nice and easy. They keep it clean. But this one was being problematic. Rat problems from the neighbors calling me because they throw their garbage in the backyard. And it's a nice house. That's the worst part about it.
And start to get an addendum, you need to go to a lawyer to do that, or?
I've kind of critiqued my own addendum over the last 12 years, I guess, because I started, every time you run into a problem, you fix it. Now we label out that only people allowed to occupy the unit are the people that are actually on the lease, excluding children, but we're not going to penalize someone for having a kid. but it's the trouble that I don't love.
And legally, you just have to give 24 hours notice. You just have to make sure the delivery of that 24 hours notice matches what the Residential Tenancy Act states. So, but you can go in. I mean, we had a situation where I was helping with a client, and I think we went in every week for 3 weeks in a row because they had set stuff they had to fix, and we had to inspect to make sure that it got done, which then built our case to get them evicted, right? So
we had one crazy tenant one time, not one of mine. I was just selling the house, and the lady actually took a swing at me every time I went there. So what I started to do, as I'd phone the cops to keep the peace as I come through the door, she'd take a swing at me, and as I went in to show the house, I'd hand her a notice for the next showing, which I just booked 3 days from that day, and it would drive her insane.
Brilliant. Excellent. All right. Well, that's another exciting Tales from the Trench. Appreciate you coming out. As you can see, the reason why we do these segments is, again, everyone does have the fantasy of being a landlord until you actually are a landlord. And so that's why we like to show that, so you can understand what it's like to be out there in the trenches. And yes, real estate's one of the best investments out there, but it's not without its work. And one of the things I always like to say is real estate's extremely easy until you add the people element, right? So, you do have to manage people. All right, without further ado, we're going to bring into another segment, which is our series of unfortunate Airbnb adventures. And again, it's similar to the Tales from the Trenches. And the reason why we do this is because so many of our clients are running into the position of running Airbnb strictly from a cash flow perspective. It's one of the best strategies in the Lower Mainland to be able to maximize your cash flow on the property. So we're going to bring up Kelly to do this segment here today. Kelly is going to run us through one of her latest series of Airbnb adventures. Kelly Fry. Oh.
There you
go.
All right. So just speak into this camera.
Yep, you betcha. You can clip it on if you want.
All right. This episode's called The Ozonator. So basically, City of Chilliwack contacted me regarding my Airbnb in the spring to tell me that I was in violation. What happened, we figured out, this is an apartment building, and some of the tenants, 2 of them didn't like the fact that we had 4 Airbnbs running in the building. So they decided to report me. So when I read through the correspondence from the city, I realized that how they define short term is under 29 days. So once I realized that, I said, okay, well, I can keep running it as, longer than 28 days. But in the meantime, I thought I don't want to lose the summer rates because it's like almost double in a lot of cases. So I told my lawyer, send them a letter and tell them I'll go into compliance after September 1st, because they were threatening to charge me $500 a month. But in actual fact, they haven't billed me to this date. So they kept checking in, and effective September 1st, I changed the setting to 29-day minimum. So I got 2 bookings right away because 2 of the units are mine that are Airbnb. And I got a corporate booking for 60 days starting September 11th. And the company wanted a special rate. And normally I don't discount anything, but because this was new to me, this 29-day business, I thought, okay, it'd be good to fill it for 2 months. I just got to get myself to next spring. And when they're not paying attention, I'll reopen it up to like 1-day minimum. Because what they do is once you're in compliance, they close the file. And they literally said that to me, we'll just close the file once you comply. So I thought, okay, I don't have to worry long-term about this. Now, I started getting texts from the time the guy arrived. So I try and pass them off to Diane. She's not in the room right now, but that didn't work. He kept texting me. And he started to tell me that unfortunately there was cigarette smell in the unit that was very bad. And he didn't ask, but he forgot. He said it wasn't mentioned. He needs a smoking-free unit. He's not a smoker. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to sleep tonight. And I thought, oh my God, here we go. This guy's going to be a problem. So I told him the building was non-smoking, but sometimes guests break the rules. I can't control everybody, and I'm not near the site. And I said, are you working tomorrow? Because I can send someone in with an ozonator, because I just happen to have one that we use for listings. It takes the smell out of curry, cigarettes, like anything you want, it does. And she's just gone up to get it for me because I wanted to show you guys. But I had one of my flippers had it at a property, so I had to get up really early, drive over, get the ozonator, and then we have a person who works for us that's like an agent concierge. She works with our handyman. She drove over to our office, pick up the ozonator, take it out to Chilliwack. He starts to tell me he's very sensitive to strong smells. Something that smells stronger. He doesn't want something that smells stronger. That's not a solution because that's just going to mask the smoke basically. And the unit's literally on the ground level, so he can't even open the windows. And I said, well, that's not what an ozonator does. It just oxygenates the room. It's not going to mask a smell. So don't worry about that. Because I was just trying to keep him talking, right? To try and get a solution. So then he tells me he's working all day the next day. I say, I'm going to send someone over there. He tells me the only place that doesn't smell is the bigger bedroom. He doesn't know why, but he thought that might help me to figure out where it's coming from. For me, it feels like someone was smoking in the apartment and the smell's embedded, but it might be from another apartment. Sorry the inconvenience, but he's never smoked in his life. And so I said, well, we haven't really received other complaints and we've been booked solid, so I don't really know what to say. And my cleaners typically will advise us if there's a smell problem. So I was thinking something's fishy about this, right? So anyway, he has a bit of a problem with the keys, I think. And then he says, okay, fine. So the next morning, as I say, I rush to get the ozonator. At the same time that my lady arrives with the ozonator, my property manager happens to be there. So he goes in with her to check, and they both report back to me that there's no issue with the unit. So I start to think, okay, this guy's probably a pipeline worker maybe, and maybe he gets a daily accommodation allowance, and he's now telling them he can't bear it there. It's a matter of his health. He's going to stay with his friend. So I thought if he gets 60 days of accommodation pay, that's probably what he's trying to pull off here. And that's what I started to argue at a certain point with the corporation when they started, to tell me they were going to cancel. So they canceled the reservation. So now I tell myself, don't sweat the small stuff. Yes, I lost the 60-day reservation. I've got to replace the booking. I'm not experienced with 29-day reservations. I'm angry at getting duped by this guy. And the actual company was trying to request a full refund by requesting a credit. But I know that's not how it works. You have to get Airbnb to agree, and then they issue the actual credit. And so every time she would send this credit request for the full amount, I would say, talk to Airbnb. But today, Airbnb called me, and the guest or corporation made a very big mistake. You see, they didn't call Airbnb right away. They waited more than 24 hours, and the guy left, and that's a no-no. So then they fall under a cancellation policy, which says that they're not entitled to a refund. So that was a lucky break for me. And so as I talked to the lady, they basically said that they wanted to mediate a solution. I don't want to be a jerk with Airbnb, but now I've lost the revenue. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to regain it. And the lady basically starts with like 50% refund. So I'm thinking, oh, that's not so bad. I get to keep half of the month's income. And then I said, well, they stayed for 2 days and there was a cleaning fee. So then they deducted that off the half. So the way the numbers worked out, my original payout was supposed to be $25.49. Airbnb and I agreed we'll credit $9.95, and I got to keep $15.53. So when I look at the equivalent of the number of days that covers 17 and a half days plus cleaning. So now I get to double dip and I can still book it. So it all worked out to be really good. Just accidental. You're always learning with Airbnb. Now, I always want to give the good side of Airbnb because I'm always bringing the challenges. So I thought I'd report in on August occupancy. These are my numbers. Abbotsford finished at 29 days. Aldergrove was 30. Chilliwack between the two units was 27 and a half. Coquitlam was 27. Langley was 26, which is a bit low. Usually Langley's closer to 30. Maple Ridge was 28. Mission was 28.5, and that's averaged over 10 units. Like, it was really booked in Mission because there's 3,000 or so pipeline workers that are booking a lot of them in the region of Chilliwack, Abbotsford, and Mission. And then Surrey was at 30 days, giving the whole portfolio about 28-day average. So not too bad. And the rates, I thought I'd show you guys the swing in the rates that I've experienced. Now, this was the first year that I was really testing it, where I was putting in higher rates in the summer months. So June, July, August, and even part of September are really the peak months. And so you can see in Aldergrove is about $60 swing. Abbotsford, for some reason, now some of these are apartment buildings that are older and renovated, so they don't command what a brand new condo commands. New condos can get a lot more. But in Chilliwack, I could really feel that I could charge a lot more because of the surge of pipeline workers this summer. Coquitlam and Langley, there was a fairly decent swing, almost $100. Maple Ridge, really good numbers on 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And Mission as well. And those Mission units, they don't even have in-suite laundry or parking. So that's not bad to have $125 a day. And Surrey, I've noticed more competition in Surrey lately, so I can't push the rates as high as I can on some of the others. And that's it. Oh, and do any of you guys have SIBA loans from COVID business loans? Just found out now while we're here that the government just extended another year today. Did you really?
Oh,
Seriously.
Our year is September 30th, and I wanted it off our books for this fiscal year.
Jeez, because I was texting Cameron because the bank, one of the banks, I have 10 SIBA loans because one of my friends is a banker, and he tipped me off that real estate's it was really easy to get it for, because if you had mortgage, taxes, and insurance on multifamilies or anything, you could qualify in each company, right? So I've been sort of sweating it out, worrying about December 31st. And then the banks just emailed me and said, we'll give you a $40,000 loan so you can keep your $20,000 by paying on time December 31st. We'll give you a 5-year loan. So I was like, oh, this is great news. So I sent it to my friend, the banker, and he said, don't touch it. Don't do it. Trudeau just announced today they're giving another year. So anyway, for those of you that care and have those loans. But I'm sorry to hear your story.
I know I don't know what next year.
Oh, and for you guys who don't know about ozonators, I guess I need this still. So this is what it looks like. It's got an on and off plug, and you put it in the property, whether it's a condo, townhouse, house. Now it can be dangerous for humans. So what you do is you shut everything, you turn it on, and you just run out the door and lock it. And then when you come back, you block your nose, you open the doors and windows as fast as you can, just because there's too much concentration of oxygen. But you just have to be careful, and it works like nothing else. So I think we paid about $500 for this.
you know, and it's come in handy, especially with a lot of our flippers or anything like that. We can loan it out to our clients for a day, and it's amazing, especially when you have those hoarder houses or properties like that you're renovating. It's fantastic. All right. So thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing your Airbnb numbers as well. All right, and we're going to bring up our keynote for the night. This is somebody who's shared our stage many times. He always brings a lot of energy. I know I always learn a ton when he's out here, and he's got a lot of experience, and that is, of course, Russell Westcott. Now, Russell Westcott is known as the JV Jedi, and I can attest to that. He actually wrote a book many years ago, and that book was the framework for my first joint venture when I was starting out in real estate as well. Russell's a professional real estate investor, best-selling author, and an inspirational public speaker. He's shared the stage with some really large names in the industry, and he's built his first $1 million in real estate portfolio in his first year of taking the leap into real estate investing, and continues to build and manage his personal real estate portfolio. He's coming out to share with us a strategy he's doing in the Edmonton market where he is seeing a very lucrative return, even with everything that's been going on. So without further ado, let's give it to Russell Westcott. Yes, sir. All right, buddy. Thanks for joining us on stage again here today and sharing your insights. I'm going to get you fired up on your presentation here.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody in YouTube land. How many are online right now? 6. Welcome. Okay, gang. So first and foremost, I'm always grateful when I have an opportunity to come present to Cam and Kelly's group. Because it's very rare that I actually can just take the car and go down a hill, and within 4 minutes of driving, I'm actually at the venue I'm presenting on. I don't actually have to go to an airport.
No flying,
and what I do every time, and today is no different, is I bring out brand new content. This has never been presented before. What you guys are about to see here is something that I've been working on behind the scenes, and I've been pretty quiet about it, other than I'm normally, when I'm working on something, I'm so excited about it that I just can't wait. I got to tell everybody. There's somebody sitting over here on a coffee on a park bench. I got to go tell them about what I'm doing. And I just said, okay, on what we're doing right now, Russ, just keep it low key, keep it chill. You know what? Let's just prove it first. I go, okay, well, damn it, I want to talk about this. So tonight's the first time I'm talking about it. And it's almost like, and I'll share the analogy. I've shared this analogy before. You guys remember that old IKEA commercial where they're sitting in the car, start the car. I honestly feel that is what I've stumbled upon. And some of you might be just saying, well, Russ, what you're talking about, that's nothing new. Like it's been done many times before, but it's new to me. And what I'm here to do is tell you, I've been doing this for 23 years. This will be coming on my 24th year as a real estate investor. And I still find ways of being extremely excited about real estate investing. And there comes times when you have ebbs and flows and ups and downs, and you want to, hopefully nobody's really listening here, you want to burn your entire portfolio to the ground in some cases, but and then sometimes you have to fall back in love again with real estate. Okay, that's where humans, we go through cycles. And I'm in one of those phases and cycles that I'm having a hard time controlling my giddiness about how excited I am on what's happening right now. And I'm one of those people in real estate. You see lots of people out there in real estate, lots of people that coach, lots of people that do YouTubes and podcasts, lots of people talk about real estate, okay? I'm actually one of those investors that actually invests in real estate. I'm first and foremost a real estate investor. And then after that, I coach and help and support, and I share with people if anybody wants to listen. If any of you are silly enough to want to listen to what I have to say, I will share everything I've learned. I'm an open book. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and it's just, I just give until it almost hurts to a point. My business partner and associate in Edmonton goes, Russ, why are you sharing that? I go, we're supposed to. That's what we're supposed to do, is we're supposed to help each other in the community. Okay, so tonight I'm going to share with you a presentation, and for lack of a better term, like I said, this is the first time I'm delivering it. I had the funny title of Real Estate, You Can Have Your Cake and Eat It Too. Who doesn't like cake, right? Cake is good. And then I even thought I was really one of those fancy people. I went on to AI, something on Adobe Firefly, said, make me a house that looks like a cake in a picture. Yeah, it's kind of a cool little picture that came up, right? Geez, even us old farts can even learn a new thing or two every once in a while, right? Okay, so I'm going to start off with something a little bit fun here, first of all. So I was leading this men's retreat. It was a men's retreat. It was a married men's retreat, okay? And I was sitting there with the group, and it was just after a break, came back on stage and was leading this group. And I said, gentlemen in the audience, I got some brand new research I want to share, and I want to prove it and test it with the audience. So I got all the married men in the room to stand up for me, and they all stood up, and I sit there and I go, okay, research has shown, brand new research has shown that there's a direct correlation to your happiness to the amount of frequency you make love to your significant other. Okay, so everybody's standing up, and I said, okay, for those of you men that make love to your significant other more than once a week, sit down. About half the room sat down. Okay, awesome. And then I said, okay, now how about more than once a month? If you make love with your significant other more than once a month, sit down. And all of a sudden, everybody sits down except for one person. The front, like just kind of over here and just beaming. They were just, so they're still standing. And I said, sir, did you hear what I was saying? He goes, yeah, I heard. I go, did you get the exercise? He goes, yeah, I'm right on, yeah. I go, sir, if you don't mind me asking, how often do you make love with your significant other? He goes, once a year. And tonight's the night. So ladies and gentlemen, tonight might be the night that you learn something new that potentially could change and pivot the direction you are going. And that was what happened to me it was almost a year ago when I had one of those, when you make change, how did change typically happen? Either inspiration or desperation, correct? More people change because of desperation than inspiration. But a year ago, I had one of those inspiration. I had a light bulb moment. that finally kicked in. And it was also some coaching that I was having this time with somebody, and he called me out on something. He said, Russ, you keep talking about this and that and stuff like that, and how you feel about your portfolio. I go, well, to be honest, I think I can do more. He goes, okay, coach thyself. I said, okay. So I kind of sat down, and I'm about to share with you what I've been doing and researching and leaning in and putting internal capital partners resources into for the last year. Okay, so this is going to be real life, real numbers to the best of my ability of I have right now. This isn't going to be concept. This isn't going to be theory. It's going to be real life. Okay, now here's my promises for each of you tonight. Is number one is I'm going to help you design your ideal investment. Okay, now what does all that mean, ideal? I'll get into that in a second. And I have a second promise as well, is I'm going to help you bust through some big challenges, some current challenges you might be facing out there in the marketplace right now. Okay, now first and foremost, exercise time. I'm a different presenter. I believe in it's not a presentation where I'm downloading to you. I have a conversation with you. What are you guys feeling right now? What challenges are you having in the marketplace right now? This is participation time. And if anyone jumps in online, please get them to participate in line. What challenges are you guys facing out in the market right now? Shout it out. Hey, good to see you. Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, good.
Interest rate.
Interest rates, absolutely. So interest rates have done what? Significantly up. What does that typically do to cash flow? It's compressed our cash flow to probably negatives in some cases on rental portfolio. Now, it's a safe assumption everybody here tonight is a rental housing provider, a real estate investor. If you're from a rental advocacy group, this is probably not your event that you should be in. Love you. I think you're doing an amazing job, but this is probably not the event for you. But we're all in this as investors together. So interest rates have gone up. What else? Is that the only challenge? Fire it up. Come on.
Unlike Debbie, where she had 50 responses to her ad, we've got a brand new 2-bedroom condo in Kelowna that there's 170 other 2-bedroom condos for rent.
Yes, 170 other condos.
2-bedroom condos.
So you have a huge supply of condos.
It's the opposite of what you're hearing every day in the marketplace.
Good to know.
Right there at that moment, that is not the case.
Yeah, and that's one of the things sometimes you have to be mindful of when you're doing pre-sales into larger complexes, how many other people are doing it at the same time. So good one. Anyone else? Come on, shout them out. Challenges.
High prices for homes and properties.
High prices for homes and the properties in the area that you're looking at right now. Where are you investing right now or looking at?
Well, like Vancouver, for example, like half line for 1 bedroom, or
Yep.
pretty much the whole lower mainland. About that.
Yep. Yep. Totally get it. Chill.
How to maximize the after repair value?
Maximizing after repair values, right? So you're not, does that maybe mean that you're not getting the appraised value after you've done the work? Then so you're not, the appraisals aren't coming in at where you think they should be coming in at. You do the work and geez, I'm putting in $40,000 and the appraisal only came up $28,000 higher. Just as an example. Come on, fire it out. Couple more challenges.
Tenants not moving, so you can't bump up your rent fast enough.
Tenants not moving, so the Mr. Advocacy, rental advocacy group right here. Yes, that rent control. What's next year? 3.5. What was inflation? Sorry, not 3.5. Sorry, I digress. Okay, any other challenges? Okay, now this is going to be a pretty tall promise. I'm going to help you bust through some challenges here tonight. Okay. So I sat down, it literally was, I think it was October last year. Now, my memory gets a little foggy because I'm getting old and I got a lot of these gray hairs in the beard and when I had hair, if there was hair there, it would be gray as well. I sat down on a cup of coffee and I think it was right when Bank of Canada raised the prime 100 basis points. I think it was October last year. September, was July? Okay, it was a little later then. So there might've been another one that came a little bit later than that. And I sat down and I sit there and I go, if I had a magic wand and I could design my ideal real estate investment opportunity, what would I want? Have you guys ever asked that question? Have you ever sat down and said, in a perfect world, sometimes you do that, in a perfect world, here's what I want. And then all of a sudden you start crossing off and you have to say, well, I have to cut, I can't have that, I can't have that, can't have that, can't have that. And then you have to start making priorities, right? So I sat down, I said, what would I want if I had a magic wand? So here's the list that I came up with. I want to attract high quality tenants. Okay, I want my properties to have cream tenants. I never want to have a tail from the trench on one of my properties. Okay, now, can't always happen, but over the past 5 to 7 years, I've been investing into new construction. And I tell you, new construction properties, by and large, get a different type of tenant profile, and they treat it a little bit better. Okay, so I wanted to attract high quality tenants. I wanted to be in desirable locations that people wanted to live. I want hassle-free management. I should have put air quotes around that, because is it ever hassle-free? No, you want to get as close as possible to hassle-free. Of all my properties that I currently own right now, have I ever met any of the tenants? Not once. Not once. And I've never heard from them once. However, I don't self-manage. I have a property manager. Okay, but here's the thing. I want to hand off to my property management company a hassle-free property so that they can have a good management experience. Okay, and I want to get a deal. Who wants a deal? Like, you want to have some built-in equity when you buy the place. You want to know that the offer that you're putting down on paper is actually a deal, right? Maybe at a worst case scenario, it's market, whatever that means at the time. But I actually want to buy something that has some built-in juice right up front. Okay? Does it sound like I was maybe smoking a reefer or something when I was having that coffee that morning here of what I'm asking for so far? Just wait, it gets better. I want to have something that I can really offload a lot of this to a team, to have people find the place, have financing people get the mortgages, have property manager, have construction people, have builders. I want to hand a lot of this work off to people, and I just want to do what I do best, okay? Orchestrate the deals, put it together, be the quarterback of the deal, okay? So it has to have a good return on time. I want to have an exit plan built in when I get in. I want the back door to be there when I get in the front door. And I also want it to be scalable. You know what that means, to be scalable? I don't want to just do this once. I want to do this multiple times, as many times as I possibly can, because just doing something once, yeah, why bother, almost, okay? I want it scalable. I want down payments under 10%. Now, I'm probably in about my second doobie right about now, right? And then I want one last thing too, is I want positive cash flow, and I want a great ROI on the property as well. So let's just recap this. This is what I asked for. 8 things. 8 things. And what I'm going to share with you tonight, let's see how I did on those 8 things. Would any of you like to have those 8 things in your portfolio on property that you're looking to buy? Me too, right? So, but here's the thing is, why not start with the end in mind, right? And I sat back after that and I really said, and I'm probably not going to use a swear word, but I said, how the heck am I going to do this? Like, how am I going to do this? Really, like, seriously. I go, that's pretty ambitious there, Russ. Okay, so what I decided to do is just start working backwards. Work from what I know and then work backwards. Okay, so what I do know is I have properties, I own properties, I rent properties, I have new construction properties. Okay, so I have the end product. Now just imagine if I just work my way backwards. So let's say I built that property, okay? And then let's say I bought the land that the house was on to be built, and then I own the property at the end. Maybe I can design the entire process right from the start to fit with my model, and I'll make it work, okay? So let's see how we're doing with this so far. So we'll work backwards. So what I did, I started at the end, and I really needed help. I had no idea what I was doing. Like, don't get me wrong, I've transacted a lot of properties over the years, 23 years, bought lots of places, but I'd never built a place. I'd never developed a property. I'd never subdivided anything. I never bought a piece of raw land. I never went in for zoning application. I never did any of that kind of stuff. So I needed some help. And what I really did was I just studied people that were doing this. I interviewed them to just pick their brain. I interviewed a lot of them for my podcast. A lot of the people I interviewed didn't want to be on the podcast, which was totally fine. And we had wonderful conversations. And I had a beginner's mindset, 23 years in, and I felt like I was brand new of doing this all over again. I said, awesome. So then I also agreed that I needed to start adding density to properties. Okay, and I'll show you some numbers here in a second on why I want to do this. And I started connecting the dots. This simple farm boy from Saskatchewan, I make the joke is I do have a grade 12. I took grade 6 twice. Okay, that's in the, wait for it. It will come. But I started connecting the dots, and here's what I'm going to tell you is, if I can figure this out, you can figure this out. I'm not here to tell you that, I'm here to tell you every one of you in this room can do this. I'm not here to tell you that it's going to be easy, and you may need help. Not may, I can almost guarantee you will need help. You will need help, you will need support in order to pull this off, okay? But it 100% can be done, 100%. So what's the opportunity? So that's the first thing I decided to do is let's research what the opportunity is. Now, do you believe, ladies and gentlemen, that we're in a housing shortage in the country of Canada? I think that's, you know, no shit Sherlock, right? In that camp, right? So this right here is the graph that we just saw. We added, what did we add? 1.2 million people to Canada in the last 12 months. It's an awful lot of people, okay? We definitely didn't build enough houses for that, for all those people, for everybody that came here, okay? So it's also forecasted that we're going to be adding another, current government forecast that they're talking about is still adding another 500,000 people a year for the next 2 to 3 years each year, all right? And it's not slowing down. We are in, I believe, a serious housing shortage. I believe that is. So we can sit here and we can complain, or we can be part of the problem, or we can be part of the solution. Now this is a graph that I saw. Now here's on the right-hand side, you can see it, the red line, that's population growth. And the blue line on the bottom is housing starts. Now, where I come from, Saskatchewan, my daddy would have said, you know, something's amiss there, son. That dog don't hunt. Right? There's a gap there right now. So really housing supply is not keeping up with population growth. CMHC forecasts, and now this has just been revised today, and I never had a chance to revise this, that Canada will be short 3.5 million homes by 2030. That's been revised upwards on the high side to 4 million homes short by 2030, okay? And this is from the National Bank of Canada. National Bank of Canada said we need to build 144,000 homes per quarter. That's double the best we've ever done in Canada. So we don't really stand a chance to really catch up on that at the moment. So problem or solution, that's what I first looked at. And like I said, we have a serious housing shortage. This is the next one that I found from the National Bank of Canada that shows the dotted line on this shows that typically you need 0.61 houses to be started for every one working age Canadian, right? So think about that for a second. Why is it 0.61? Because if it was 1 to 1, that'd be one person living in one house. So typically there's more than 2 people living per house, things like that. On the Canadian number typically is 0.61. That's our running rate that our normal historical number is. Right now, Canada's running at 0.26. Okay? So it's like half. And the one that has, of the big 4 provinces, Alberta has the largest forecasted housing shortage out there right now. Did you guys know that Alberta is forecasted to surpass British Columbia in population in the next 15 years or less? Isn't everybody moving to Alberta from here? I know our kids are considering it, right? But that's the forecast based upon run rates and based upon things that I've seen out there right now is Alberta will surpass British Columbia as the 3rd most populous province, okay? Edmonton, which is where I invest. Now understand, I just live up the hill from here and I invest out of province, okay? So it can be done. Edmonton is forecasted to add 1 million more people to its population. I think there's 1 million and change there now. So essentially it's going to double in 15 years. But here's the thing. They know that and they've been planning for it. And they've got infrastructure in place, and they're building LRTs, and they're building all these kind of things, and they're changing densification rules, which you guys will see here in a second, of what you can do there. It shocks me what you can do there. How long does it take to get a building permit out here? We heard a story. How long does it take the building permit out here? up to a year. We had a contract on a house when we had full demo, building permits, plans, everything done, and we had a backhoe in there demoing a house in under 2 months. And then we had 6 more months for construction. In 8 months, we went from completed offer accepted on a house to having a brand new infill built within 8 months. Okay, and you can do that depending on the time of year, because there's a thing called freeze up there. It depends on when you dig the hole in the ground. Okay, I'll share a little bit more of that in a second. Edmonton, in my personal opinion, is one of the most proactive. Like if you ever go out and see task groups and housing groups like that, they typically look at Edmonton model for guidance on what to do for densification on a city. Now, one of the problems that has always been in Edmonton, which I believe they have now solved, because here's the thing, Edmonton, anybody out goes out to the prairies? Anyone familiar with the prairies? What's stopping the sprawl? The Rocky Mountains, which are about 4 hours one direction. You just literally just sit there and go, okay, there's a canola field over there. Let's just blow down that canola field and away we go. We got a new subdivision. So what the city of Edmonton has finally decided was they go, we're adding 1 million people, but we're not making the footprint of the city any larger. We've gone as far out as we want to do. They actually sit there and go, you know, the further out we go, the more roads we have to put in, the more sewers we have to put in, the garbage trucks have to go further. It's costing us a lot of money. So what they're doing is they're building in and they're building up. And does that sound familiar in any markets that we might be familiar with? Right? So they're sitting there in almost rubber stamping densification applications, almost to the point where if you walk into them and sit there, we have this lot, it's a 50 by 150, it's zoned RF3, it's got one house on it, a nice little cute little 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on it, and we're going to be putting six units on this property. They go, okay, cool. Snap, away you go. Almost, okay? Now that's the kind of proactive leadership that they're doing. So we're literally taking something where there was once 1, and when we're leaving, there's 6 to 8 when we're done. Now, I'm from Saskatchewan. That's math works for me, right? Buy 1, when you leave, there's 6. Okay, and I think there's a huge opportunity called the missing middle. Any of you guys familiar? Have you heard the term missing middle? Missing middle housing? Okay, so we're familiar with single-family homes, right? And we'd be familiar with, say, large condo apartment buildings and towers and stuff. And in between those two things, there's something called the missing middle. That is where you can potentially take, say, a house and you can turn things into row homes. You can add suites to basements. You can take something, subdivide it, and then you now have 4 units on it after. I believe there's a huge opportunity. Now, think about it. A lot of cities are really on board with this, because think about this. They take something that's maybe an inefficient big lot, they then subdivide it, and then they put on a front and back duplex on each thing. There's now 4 houses on that lot where there was once 1 before. What do you think is going to happen to the tax base? They're going to start charging more taxes for it. They don't have to build anything new. They don't have to put more new sewers in. They might have to make the pipe a little bigger, maybe, who knows? But by and large, they're on board with these kind of things, okay? So this was one of the things that I really dove into, learned the process, interviewed the people, talked to the people that were doing a lot of this. And here's my simplified process. Now, I had to get it to a point. Now, as I believe as good of teacher and instructor as I am, for me to share everything that I've learned in the past year, we could be here for a week, okay? And I'm going to try my best to give you what's most important and what's most relevant to give you an indication of what the opportunity is available, okay? So here's the simplified process that I've come up with. Number 1 is you have to analyze opportunity. Is there an opportunity, first and foremost? So you have to be able to analyze. You wouldn't believe the spreadsheets that I honestly think all day long I sit there and I'm in Excel hell with things and link to here and link to there and macro here and look up here. And I'm just like, Jesus, you have to analyze. And then eventually you have to acquire a piece of dirt. Whether that piece of dirt has a house on it or whether it's just in a new subdivision or something, you need to get a piece of dirt. And you have to figure out then that piece of dirt is what can you do on it? You then have we have this amazing designer. Like I call her the magic worker. Like we literally just send her here's a lot. She takes a look at it, the geo whatever she does, and she knows the bylaws like the inside out and backwards. And she comes back with black line drawings. And here's what you can put on. Here's what you can't put on. Here's what you can do. Here's the setbacks and offsets and this, that, and the other. Jeez, wow, you're worth your weight in gold. Right? So she then goes and she does the design to come up with the highest and best use. And then we have 3 building companies that we contract out to, that we just get a build contract with them, okay, for them to build our design of our properties on the land. And then we will own the property and manage it. Most people will do this process and then they'll just sell it at the end because it doesn't make sense to hold it as a rental. And I'm going to tell you here tonight why it makes sense to probably hold it as a rental. Including we just got hopefully a new little benefit that just kicked in today. Did you guys see that potentially any new construction home, new construction properties, if it's for the purpose of rental, might be subject to GST free? I know. So if you're in that world, I sat there and I looked at it and I just, on the current projects we have in the ground right now, it's $340,000 difference. And that's not even including my coaching clients, my inner circle clients, and our associates that are doing these kind of things at the same time. Okay? It's huge, but who knows? Well, do you guys know when that actually was first promised? Does anyone know backdate when that was actually first promised? 2015. What happened in 2015? That's when the current government first got in, they promised it at that time. Then you know what? They canceled it in 2017. And then today I heard they blame Stephen Harper for the problems with the housing market. Stephen Harper? I go, wasn't that, how long ago was that? Right. Anyways, I digress. Now here's where this has been the one that stretched my brain cells to the max, is how to finance all this stuff. How do the loan structure, down payment money, deposits to builders, all this kind of stuff. It just absolutely just fried my brain cells. But I got it down to a point where I now have it down to 3 methods of buying them, 3 methods of doing it. And you potentially might have to qualify for three mortgages over this thing. You might have to qualify for a mortgage to actually buy the house and the land. You might have to qualify for a mortgage for the build construction phase, construction mortgage, and then you might have to get a completion mortgage at the end at the same time. So having magic workers on the mortgage financing side is the key thing. And the key thing is I believe, is have somebody who knows what they're doing and go through one kind of channel and one team so that they can all know what they're doing. And you wouldn't believe this is commercial world as well. You guys know the fees that you pay. You actually don't pay fees in residential world, right? But in the commercial world, what was it, last month? We had a $90,000 mortgage broker bill. $90,000. And beautiful though that they put all that $90,000 into the mortgage. You know, did you hear what happened there? That $90,000 fee got put into the mortgage so we didn't have to actually pay it. Right, and I'll show you how we're doing all this kind of stuff too. And you guys know, I didn't hear anybody say of the challenge that you're bumping up again. Any of you guys run into the dreaded mortgage financing wall? The bank tells you have too many mortgages. You know, in the commercial world, they sit there and go, you have lots of mortgages and you have lots of properties. Woohoo! Bring it on. They actually celebrate you. The more properties you have, the more experience you have, the more good performing properties you have. They love it. They love you more in the commercial side. Okay. All right. So let's dive into this. So what I want to show, so that was a year ago. I sat down with a cup of coffee, sparked up a fatty. No, I joke. I joke, but I don't. No, I don't. I do not. But it is legal though. It is legal. So again, that was a year ago. So what's the old saying is how it started. So how it started honestly was with a concept, an idea, an opportunity, and I put the term up here, passion to figure it out. I probably could have put a stupidity and an ignorance and being too naive and too dumb not to know any better. And I also put in there, as you typically go, is I have a PhD, pig-headed determination. with this. I really just sat down and I'm going to just kill myself or it's going to kill me. Okay, so that was a year ago. So how's it going? Currently, right now, we have 4 projects in the ground and we have 25 rental suites under construction. Our first ones tenants will be filled in February, and we'll have the remaining of the ones in the ground no later than March to April, May time next year. Okay. Oh, thank you. And then also with the team that I work with, I just talked with my business partner yesterday, and I'm going to get the number. There are 24 of these projects on the go, and 13 of them in condition status on top of that. So there's another 37 total on this of my coaching clients, my inner circle clients, and our associates of people who we recommend this to. And we haven't been going out and really publicly telling people about it other than just our inner circle, because we wanted to prove it. I want to prove this first, right? I want to, not just test it, but I want it to be proven first with the capital and then go out from there. Okay, so that's what's happening right now. So what I'm going to show with you tonight is just two different models, a case study. I'm going to show you one of them is going to be an infill and one's going to be a new subdivision. So the first thing I'm going to show you is a side-by-side duplex with suites plus garage suites. Are you guys, Cam, do you guys call them duplexes here? One house, common wall in between, two separate titles typically. Yeah, everywhere calls them different. Out in Ontario, they call them semis. Here, we call them duplexes out here. Okay. So the first one I'm going to show you, and the second one I'm going to show you is some townhomes. 3 townhomes, suites, garage suites on top of all that. The first one's going to be 6. The second one's going to be 7. I'll show you how we get all those numbers here in a second. I'm going to show you the current real life numbers. This is Edmonton and area. You can choose to go there or not. I chose to go there a long time ago. I like it, but it has its pros and cons. Okay. So the first one I'm going to show you is an infill development. Okay, so this right here, we own this. This is on a 7,500 square foot corner lot. Okay, we're in Poco right now. Cam, and that's a cute little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. 7,500 square foot lot in Poco. How much would something like that go for? Ballpark. 1.2, okay? Think about that for a second, 1.2. We picked that up for 283, 289, 289. It's zoned for up to 8 units. Already zoned, okay? So here's some of the numbers. We're taking it from this to this. Side-by-side duplex, both sides will have suites, and then we'll have a 4-bay garage on the back with 2 garage suites on the back, off the back lane. So we're getting the 6 units. And these aren't just small units. They're, I think I got the number here. They're like over almost 1,800 square foot side-by-sides. And then each of the basements, each of the suites, I got the numbers here. So we're turning one house and we're turning them into 2 attached side-by-side duplex, 6 independent rental suites. We have 2 3-bedroom, 3-bath with dens, 2 2-bedroom, 1-bath suites, 2 2-bedroom, 1-bath garage units on that, and 4 individual bay garage. And we actually have 2 parking pads on either side of the garage in the back. It's amazing when you actually go through the financing process, you can actually charge, as CMHC counts parking pads and parking spaces as rents. You include all that kind of stuff in your calculation. So essentially, we're taking something that was one house with 3 bedrooms. We're turning it into 2 houses with 14 bedrooms and 10 bath on it. Anyone want to guess the cost on this? I gave you a little bit of the insight a bit. How much do you think that's total cost of that's going to be when we're done? Ballpark numbers. How much? Including the land, plus the build, everything. What do you think the final number is going to be on that when we're done? It's okay to be wrong, because I was so wrong when I first started. 4 million. That was kind of what I was thought too. I was basing it upon, a house out in Burke Mountain where you're paying $1.8 million. You're paying $1 million for a 4,500 square foot lot without even a house on it, give or take. 1.1. Okay. 1.7.
Oh, I thought with the construction. That's with the construction.
Total, all in at the end. when it's all done, land plus construction. 1.6. Okay, well, let's see how we do. And like I said, these are large units. On the suite units, we're in the 700 square foot up to like 1750 for the side-by-sides. Okay, so here's some top line details. We bought the land for $283. It actually has a house on it. Okay, it actually had a house on it. We're soon, I'm trying to find a way. I'm trying to find the way. I have a couple of these ones. I'm trying to find if somebody will want to just buy the house. I'll sell it to them for like 10 grand if they move it. If they just come and pick it up and take it out to a cottage or a lake or something like that, just give me 10 grand, I'll give you a house, right? And it's something like that. So I'm trying to find somebody to do that. If anybody knows, anyone wants to buy a cheap house, but you have to move it. There's a lot of people do it. I know a good friend of mine from Saskatchewan, what he does is he moves houses from towns into Melfort, Saskatchewan. And he has, what's his rule? 20-20-20-20. He has to pay less than $20,000 for the house, has to pay less than $20,000 for the moving, has to pay less than $20,000 to service the house at the next place and something else. And then he refinances them when he puts them into Melfort after like a couple $100,000. He bought the place for 80, right? So anyways. Probably, but the problem that I'm going to think is going to happen is I'd have to do a little bit of research. Because honestly, if you have to move, we got quoted $80,000 from EPCOR to move a telephone pole. 80,000. So if you have to actually, that's where it's going to probably fall. Our build costs are $1.37 million. We're into this place. Our total cost to build this 6-unit property is $1.655 million. Okay. And here's the kicker. Just got appraised at 1.845. What's the difference there? 185,000, give or take. We got a little juice built into that. It's based upon income appraisal, based upon direct cost appraisal, and based upon one other kind of appraisal. We had the piece, you know how much it costs to get a commercial appraisal done? Anyone know? Ballpark? It's $6,000. But they do an amazing job. Right? They do. It's a really good appraisal, like really good. I actually learned a lot from it, but that's what our appraisal came in on this one at. A couple more top line. We're getting 95% loan to cost on this, 50-year amortizations, and a 4.6 interest rate is what it was at. I actually just got one conditionally approved at 4.4 today. That's a CMHC MLI Select mortgage product, okay? And depending on, see, here's the thing. This is where it gets, I'm trying not to make it complex or confusing. Loan to cost can be a little nebulous, right? Like, what is the cost? Can you build in your project management fee of $50,000? Can you build in your mortgage brokering costs of 25 grand? Can you build in all these other costs into the cost to get it? The answer is potentially yes, depending on the debt coverage ratios. You have to have enough equity to put that in, and you also have to have the rents have to be able to support it, okay? Our estimated capital that we're going to be into this place after we're done is $130,000. That's it. Take 130. I want someone to grab me a calculator. Take $130,000, divide that by 0.2. Anyone? 450? 650. So if we were taking that $130,000 and putting 20% down on a place, the most we'd be able to get on that would be a $650,000 place, right? Now, in and of itself, just talking about the CMHC financing package and the MLI Select program is an entire hour-and-a-half conversation on it. But it is one of the best things I've seen come out for a financing opportunity that honestly, that is one of the ones when I heard about it was the start the car. Are you really, what, really? And I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like I kept saying, okay, what's the downside? What's the downside? The one big downside is it's taking up to 6 months to get approvals. 6 months. So there's a little bit of, not you have to maneuver, and you have to have good builders, and you have to have potentially deposits with builders, or you own the land, you rent it out for a year, and then at about the 4-month mark, you start your permitting, your development process, all that kind of stuff. You start your application to CMHC, you wait the 6 months, you get everything lined up, and then the day that the U-Haul truck, the tenant leaves at the end of 1 year, you know, in Alberta, fixed lease tenants at the end of the fixed lease, the landlord can choose not to renew and they have to move out. There's no choice. They have to leave. The U-Haul's moving out and the backhoe's moving in. So that's one way you can get around it. Or in some other cases, we have some fairly well-funded builders that are buying the land. They're supplying their own construction financing, and then we just come with completion contracts right up front, and then we go apply for completion mortgages on it. So there's multiple different ways of doing this. We're getting about 11,500 is the rent forecasted on that, and I believe that's low, to be honest. It's still low. Estimated cash flow on these will be about between 11 and 1,200 bucks a month on these at 95% loan to cost. Now, if we weren't getting 50-year amortizations and discounted interest rates, this would probably be dead in the water. It really would. Okay. So that was the first one, was an infill, and we're doing multiple of those throughout the city. And then the next one I'm going to share with you is a new subdivision. So this is a fun one, an interesting story on this one. One of our builders came to us, and they had these 3 lots, and they were building 3 townhomes on them. And they came to us, my business partner and I, and they said, "Would you be interested in buying these?" We took a look at it, and we go, not just 3 townhomes. How much more density could we add to it? So we sent it off. So he was already building it. He bought the land. He was already financing his own build. So he was building it. And he wanted to know if we wanted to buy it from him. And we said, not as just 3 townhomes. So we sent it off to our designer person. She came back and said, based upon the land usage and densification and rules, and oh, by the way, this area just changed their bylaw. You can now have garage suites on it. She said, what you can do is you can put lower suites on the end units, and you could put 2 garage suites on the back. So now we turned a 3 townhome into a 7-unit rental. Now it makes sense. So then we got all that information. The builder went back and re-quoted his numbers and re-quoted his trades, re-quoted all the materials, and gave us a new price. And based upon the new price, it now works. And how does those numbers look? Here's some top line details. We essentially took 3 lots and turned them into 3 townhomes. How much does a townhome out this way cost? 1 townhome. 200. That's your down payment. What are we, 800,000, 900 for 1 townhome? Yeah, there's ones that they're building out Burke Mountain way. It's like they're in the millions out there just for a townhome, right?
I just sold a townhome for about
770. Yep. So we're building 3 3-bedroom, 3-bath townhomes, 2 1-bedroom, 1-bath suites, and 2 1-bedroom, 1-bath garage units. Okay. So in total, we have 13 bedrooms and 13 bathrooms on this build. And they're large. They're on the small, no, I should say, they're smaller than the other ones we're doing. They're between 600 and 15. Our townhomes are 1,550 square feet. Like, they're big units. We bought the land for 300,000. We bought 3 lots for 300,000 bucks total. Construction is 1.15 and change, total 1.185, and our appraisal came in at 1.194. So some juice built in on that one as well. Okay. Financing, same kind of financing deal. Our projection of money capital left in is 140 grand. And if I have my way, I hope I do, I don't want there to be anything left in when I'm done. Because I want to take that capital and recycle it into another project. Our rent is about $12,500 a month, and we're getting about $1,450 cash flow at the end of it. Okay, so what's next? What's next on this? Like I said, I've just kind of broken trail, and I'm so fired up about this. What's next is I'm going out to Edmonton at the end of the month, and I'm going to look at an entire city block. 11 inner city lots that we can put 28 rental units on it. This is the lot configuration here. There'll be a stack, 2 stacks of 4, 1 stack of 3, and garage suites on each of the ends. So it'll be 28 units at the end. And that's what I'm going to look at when I'm going out to Edmonton. I'm meeting some investors from Eastern Canada. We're all meeting out there, and I'm hoping that we're going to be writing some offers while we're there. Okay, because the opportunity, like I tell people this, some people say, well, why don't we sell some of these? I go, if the bank is willing to give us 95% completion mortgages and they cash flow, why would we want to sell them? Now, here's the one kicker. Remember, one of the things I said from the beginning I wanted to design is I wanted to have the exit plans in place. Each one of these places are already subdivided, separated. That's when when the time comes to sell them, I have 11 things I'm selling. I put one commercial mortgage over everything to start. And there's lots of red tape and lots of fine print and lots of conditions and lots of stuff. But when the time comes, I don't have to go through the process of subdividing, divesting of things. I can literally sell them as 11 separate properties. Buy by the yard, sell by the foot. Okay? Now that's what's coming next. I hope, wish me luck. We'll see what's coming. If not that, there'll be something else coming down the pipe. So remember, when I asked that magic wand question, let's see how I did. Could I potentially building something that might attract a high quality tenant? I can give myself a check there. How about desirable locations? The area where we have 4 areas that we're picking that I believe are really A+ areas. We're not talking the hood. We're talking A+ areas that we're building in. Hassle-free management. I like the new construction. Getting a deal, there's some juice built in at the beginning. Leveraging my time. I'm not going to hammer a nail, not one nail. I'm not going to the city for applications. I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff. There's people that are doing all those. I have an exit plan. It is a scalable model. They're under 10% down payment, and each of them are cash flow and ROI positive. All right, so here's some next steps. This is next steps for you if you are interested. Number one is I highly encourage you to sit down and design what your ideal investment opportunity is. Like seriously, sit down and design it. Be proactive about what you are looking for, okay? And be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Get some support. If you're not sure what you're doing, get some support on your journey because number one, you are worth the investment in you, okay? And then 2 last things, if any of you are so inclined, I've taken a little break from my podcast and YouTube over the past couple months because I've been busy. But I'm now in a point, I didn't want to start sharing this until I actually had conditions were removed. I had appraisals in hand. I had applications in, and we had our first wave of CMHC financing waves were all coming through. I wanted to make sure it was real before I started sharing it. Now I'm going to start sharing it on my podcast and my YouTube. So if you guys are interested in following along on how it's going and what's going on, follow along. There's my podcast. Or if you're more visual people, by all means, jump onto YouTube. There's the YouTube as well, my YouTube channel as well from there. And then that's it. I'm open if anybody, do you have time? You want
Yeah, we've
questions?
got,
If you have some time for some
we've
questions.
got about 5-10 minutes. If anyone has any questions, feel free.
And thank you very much.
Thank you. So again, anyone on YouTube as well, drop it in the comments and Charm will read it out. And any questions from anyone in the crowd? Yes, Furman.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Minimum investment. Okay, so in order to qualify for something like this is what I tell people. This is what I tell my partners. You have to be prepared to have it for, let's just take a 6-unit for one, like one of the ones, the first example. You have to be prepared to have at least about access to 200,000 in capital to start, okay? Because we have to put deposits down and we have to potentially maybe buy the land, or we have to put a 10% deposit down with the builder. You have to have access to about 200,000 to start. But more importantly, you also have access to net worth to qualify for the financing. Now, here's the thing is, if somebody doesn't have the net worth requirement, these kind of deals, people I'm counseling and coaching, they're bringing people into this to just co-qualify. High net worth individuals come in. By the way, you can own 15% of this thing with no down payment, no nothing. All you have to do is co-qualify with us on this. So there's lots of different things. So the answer is you typically have to have about 600,000 in net worth and about 200,000 in capital to qualify. Then what we do is we work our magic, and our goal is to get you back $75,000 at the end, because remember, sometimes on construction financing, you're getting 90% loan to cost for construction, but you're getting 95% on completion. So you actually get a check back at the end. It's like a big BRRRR, big one.
Big one.
Yeah. So simple answer is access to 200. We'll try to claw back, and you have to have net worth in order to qualify for the commercial financing.
Excellent. Yes.
So what are pros and cons in investing in Edmonton Market? Also, how do you decide on location?
How do I decide location? That's how do I say that? Well, how do I say it in short term? Okay. The simplest answer is I target transportation changes. And the simple answer is if you go onto the City of Edmonton's website, you can find out where they're building the new LRT lines, the West LRT line, and they actually will tell you where the stations will be in advance. There's 4 neighborhoods that I have 3 bird dogs that are knocking on every door right now. So I guess that would be the best. So that's just one of the fundamentals that I look for. And that's one of the best is transportation changes. Like let's take it as an example. What has happened we had a wonderful presentation in Burnaby. What's happened at Brentwood since they've what happened at each of those stations? What has happened around those? It's just gone gangbusters, right? Did that help?
And pros and cons for investing in Edmonton.
Pros and cons for winter. Con. No, winter is you have to go there in the winter. No, pros and cons. Like I said, the biggest con before was that the urban sprawl. Like they literally, they can, on a turn of a dime, they can add inventory to the marketplace very, very quickly. I believe one of the reasons why Vancouver housing prices are so high, first of all, it's landlocked, but it takes forever to build anything here. And it costs so much money to just all the permitting and all this kind of stuff. They've landlocked it, and then they've actually artificially kept the supply of land low. In Edmonton, they opened it up. So it used to be the one downside, and I believe they fixed it because they're now densifying in. Pros, where do I start? Record in migration. You're buying houses for under $300,000. You have friendly densification. Here's one how about this? Get this on for size. Now, this is an Alberta thing, maybe a government thing. The Alberta government's forecasted budget surplus. Now, that's a word that we don't know out here in BC. Surplus this year will be $2.8 billion this year, on top of 3 point some last year. So the province is going to be debt-free again. And then what they do with their surplus of money, instead of paying interest on all that money, they actually will then funnel it into healthcare and education. So they actually make revenue to pay for the services as opposed to taxing people to pay for the services. Does that make sense? It's very business friendly. That's what I'm trying to get to. Now, the other thing is some people just don't like Alberta. They don't like the people. Maybe it's too rednecky, a little too rough, and maybe too that kind of stuff. I find they're probably some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Right?
I'm from Edmonton.
Salt of the earth people. Population growth, a whole bunch of things. It's an entire, if you go on my YouTube channel, I did an entire analysis on Calgary versus Edmonton. And it's half an hour in length where I go really detailed, really deep into it. So
we got someone online here?
We're on that because Equalizer here wants to confirm about the doubling of population in Edmonton against Calgary.
Calgary is growing faster than Edmonton right now. I'll say that for sure. I made the call a year ago that Edmonton was going to start catching up to Calgary. Calgary is like the sea of amazingness in a storm in many cases. But what happens in Calgary comes to Edmonton eventually. Now, the number is, if that person wanted to go look it up, if they look, there's actually on the City of Edmonton website, I think the plan is called 1 million more. They type in 1 million more City of Edmonton plan. There's an entire document outlining their infrastructure plan of how to add another 1 million more people to the city. Yep. Hope that helps. Yep.
We have another question from JT. They want to know what the cost of construction usually is and the time involved to complete the project.
Okay. Well, here's the thing is I asked that question at the very beginning because I was, what's a cost per square foot? I don't think there's a standard on how anybody does. Well, is it above grade? Is it below grade? Does it count the garage? Does it count this? Is it finished square feet? Is it like, geez, I thought it'd be a simple answer. Our simple answer that we're getting right now for all square footage of build is roughly $200 a square foot. $250 with land, $250 per square foot with the land, $200 just for construction. Ballpark numbers. Timelines, we can have something done from getting land, 2 months for permitting, 6 months for construction. We can have something done in 8 to 9 months from start to finish.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions in the room? No? Exciting. Well, appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming out again. As always, my friend, bring it in. All right, steal that back, you bet. Now we'll be listening to your conversations in the back there. All right. I mean, it's pretty exciting, the kind of stuff that you see other people doing out in the marketplaces, right? And a lot of the concepts that Russell spoke about are doable in any city that you choose. This is not just necessarily an Edmonton thing. He talked about how he's targeting transit-oriented areas. What's happening right now with Surrey Langley, right? They're getting an expanded SkyTrain station, so it's even doable locally. So no matter where you're going, look for those opportunities. Really dive in, do your investigation. There's really no limit to what you guys can achieve. All right, so just a quick reminder, we're still running our contest right now. So if you guys want to take some photos, post your ahas on either Facebook or Instagram, make sure you tag the Kelly Fry team to be able to be included. We're giving away a little bit of swag later today. All right, let's dive in. We're going to start wrapping things up for you guys. We're going to talk about what is going on in the market. This is literally one of the biggest questions that I always get day in and day out from everyone. What's going on in the market? Where are prices at? What's happening here? Why aren't things moving? So let's kind of do a deep dive. So the first thing I like to do is we're going to bring up a few graphs here, and voila. There it goes. All right, let's take a look at the inventory. So one of the things we always like to take a look at is supply and demand and the impact that it has then on pricing. Now, here's something that I have found very, very interesting as we continue to move through this new market that we've been experiencing. Now, during the height of COVID, we were told that we had record low inventory. It was like literally every single news article, realtor, mortgage broker, gurus, everyone, record low inventory, record low inventory. We're not talking about inventory that often right now. And yet, if you take a look at it here, this is where, we were last year when the market had picked up a little bit in inventory, 10,000. During the height of COVID, we had around 11,000 listings on the market. We're currently sitting here in August at about 9,569 for the Greater Vancouver area. We're down right now, 5,448 for Fraser Valley. And this is Chilliwack here, just trailing as well at about 1,140. So inventory continues. Every month that I do this is the same thing I keep bringing up. It continues to be an issue here throughout the Lower Mainland. And you saw some of the statistics that Russell had shown about population growth. Well, we do know that there are people coming into the Lower Mainland regularly. 75,000 to 100,000 new people are coming in. And with the aggressive immigration plans that the government has, that's going to continue to put pressure on housing. The next thing we like to look at is the demand. What's going on in demand? We calculate that by the sales. So taking a look at sales here. Voila. There it is. All right. So taking a look at sales. Now, it's very interesting. Like you can see some of the swings that have happened in the last year through sales. Now, who can tell me what happened in January, kind of February, March 2023 that would have caused sales to spike? So we had the interest rate on the Bank of Canada freeze, and the fixed rates had also went down at that time too, right? And again, spring market, right? So we saw as soon as anything changed in the marketplace, buyers got off the proverbial fence and they started buying. Then suddenly what happened towards the end of summer? Everything went up again, right? We had interest rate announcements that increased. We had fixed rates also starting to go up, and sales have come back down. Well, taking a look at that and thinking about these situations that have happened, what was the announcement that just happened on Wednesday last week? They held the rates again, right? So what do we think from the psychology of buyers out there potentially could happen? They might see that as an opportunity where they say, I better jump into the market, right? They didn't hold the rates. I've been waiting. Now I see they didn't hold it. Now it's time to move. And here's one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot in my head that I don't think a lot of buyers understand, and maybe as an industry we need to do better. But every single buyer in the market today, they can afford the interest rates, right? Even at 7% or, whatever it is. Why? Because when the bank is doing their pre-qualifying, they're pre-qualifying them at still the increased rates, the stress test rates. So they're able to qualify at that 7%. It impacts their buying power. So it shifts what they can afford. But everyone can afford. But it's this psychology of, okay, I got to wait and see. So what has been the impact overall through this past year as we've taken a look at things? Right? We try to get fancy with having moving graphics and then things go slow. And voila. All right, here we go. Prices have definitely moved over last year. Now, we know prices had come down from the peak in 2021. As we entered into 2022 and they started increasing the rates, prices came down. But we have already seen the impact of prices rising due to the interest rate holds. Now, we have seen them come down again, right? We saw it rise through here in the Fraser Valley. They've taken a drop. Chilliwack took a fairly big drop. It's actually lower than last year. A little higher here, but Vancouver as an average is still a little bit up. My assumption, my prediction is if we continue to see changes in the interest rates where things continue to stay level, or eventually that eventual recession has hit and we need to spur on the economy, we're going to drop the rates, we're going to see those prices go back up again, because just simple looking at the history, we know what's going to happen, right? So let's kind of do a deeper dive into a few of the cities here. I'd like to start out east. We're going to go west towards Vancouver, taking a look at the Chilliwack market. Well, Chilliwack's actually fared pretty good, even with the increased rates that we've had over last year. But again, we're taking a look at a market last year during summer that was really depressed because we had several interest rate rises, and it really dropped off a cliff kind of February 2022, right? So detached is up around 2.1%, but here's the key. Inventory, we got to continue to keep an eye on that, because again, as buyers come back into the market and we continue to be low on inventory, we're going to see that the multiple bids will start coming back, right? People fighting over properties. There's so much legislation that's been added from there, but still it could happen. Inventory is still down and days on market are dropping. So things are still selling a little quicker than they were last year. Townhouses, 3.9%, still up a little bit. Condos as well. But again, fairly large drops in the inventory over last year. And the inventory spike in 2022 wasn't that huge over some of the peaks of inventory in 2020 and 2021. So it's interesting. Again, 2020, 2021, we talked about historically low inventory. We still are in that. Abbotsford. Okay, Abbotsford's fared off pretty well as well, up 2.7% over last year. Inventory slightly down. Days on market are up 4%, not that much. We've seen days on market dropping here, 50% down on the total inventory. It's pretty shocking because Abbotsford's a fairly large market and they've only got 104 townhouses on the market. We're talking about that missing middle, right? That Russell talked about. Townhouses are kind of in that missing middle. They're not the big condo developments, which we are seeing, and they're not the single family homes. And again, we're also down in the inventory on condos. Condos are down just very, very slightly in the market right now. City of Mission, one of our favorite areas, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the City of Mission with our hot deal coming up. So keep that in the back of your mind. But detached took a bit of a beating in Mission. Now, the one thing about Mission is because it's a smaller market, it is impacted by the sales differently. If you have a very large property sell that has a significant price tag to it compared to one that's really small and run down, those sales could really impact the swing. So take this one with a grain of salt, especially in the attached market, because it's very, very low inventory just in general. It's a very detached heavy market. But inventory is down. Days on market is up a little over a month. Townhouses are up 48%. Again, that's because we're starting to see a lot more new product coming into the city of Mission. And when you had a whole bunch of old, 1970s townhouses sell, and suddenly you have a whole bunch of new ones that just closed. Polygon's been doing a massive development in the Silver Springs area, I think it's. That when they start hitting the market, that's going to really drive up the price, right? We've got increased inventory by 39%, but we're still only 32 townhouses. And we're up 90% on condos. But a lot of those are some assignments that are hitting the market right now. I know one building has at least 20-something assignments in the building right now. So that will really skew the Mission numbers there. But prices are pretty stable on condos. Langley is one of those markets where it has definitely seen the impact here. Oh, we got an error in our numbers there. That is not the right. Sorry about that, folks. So we need to make sure we fix that for next time. So that should be closer to like 1.7 million for the city of Langley. But inventory, I can see, looks like this entire slide did not change. All right, well, that's unfortunate. Langley did not change at all. Everything is great. We're going to make sure we fix that for next time. Surrey, let's talk about Surrey. So you know that Langley would be like not $1 million. If you can find $1 million in Langley, start buying them up like crazy because that's insanely low. Should be like more like 1.7. Okay, Surrey's up a little bit, 6.3. Inventory is actually up in the detached market here, so that's interesting to keep an eye on. Surrey is one of the fastest growing municipalities along with Langley City. So, the fact that there's more inventory hitting the market, that's good because it needs to absorb it. There's nearly 1,500 new residents moving into Surrey every single month right now, coming in from other areas around the Lower Mainland, plus with the immigration. Inventory is down on the condos and townhouses, and they fared pretty well, up 8.2% in the condo market. Maple Ridge done pretty well. We've seen some significant growth that's still spurred on from the really hefty spring that we had. It was very busy in these markets. Inventory is still down, except for condos up very slightly. Vancouver. Now, I like to show Vancouver as an alternative as well because we're using a lot of the Fraser Valley. Most of the investors we work with do operate in the Valley strictly due to affordability. But some investors still like to buy in Vancouver and, downtown, everything like that. There's lots of opportunities if you have the right strategies. So taking a look at Vancouver East, we have seen, my goodness, that can't be right. I'm like looking at this number. Okay, we have some serious issues in our tech department because there's no way Vancouver East is an average of 4.5 million. It should be 1.5, I would assume. No, even higher than that. Anyways, there's definitely some errors there. I apologize, folks. We're going to have to really have a talk with our tech department and make sure that this is good for next month. Inventory is down, obviously, which we've seen across the board. Here's the one where it's a little more accurate. Vancouver West, 4.325 million for an average home. And again, this is one market where I've seen prices continue to rise even with the interest rate changes. And the reason for that is if someone's buying a $4 million home, there's a high likelihood they're not impacted by interest rates because they can either buy cash at $4 million or they know they can afford those interest rates when they're buying those types of homes, right? Inventory is still down. Townhouses are up over 1.5 million and condos are over $1 million in Vancouver West right now as an average. So here is some news from the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board. Housing market sales slow due to seasonal trends and anticipation of the next rate announcement. That's now happened. We can see here the house on the market, the client's looking at it, and buddy, Mr. Interest Rate goes, whoa, hold on, just wait. A combination of seasonal trends and cautious anticipation of the next rate announcement saw the real estate market slow. Many buyers are in a watchful waiting mode as they hold off on decisions in anticipation of potential further rate changes. With prices relatively stable and active inventory on the rise, we hope to see more new listings come on the stream over the next couple of months, especially if rates hold steady. We expect to see the market activity pick up heading into the fall. That's pretty typical, right? Spring market, it's typically fairly busy. Fall market, it picks up. It's not as busy as spring, but it does pick up. And again, with these rate announcements, I anticipate we're going to see some activity moving into the market. All right, let's talk about our hot deal. I've kind of teased it a little bit for you guys here. And this is literally hot off the press. Prior to IPG, we had some other ideas for a hot deal for you guys. And this came in the inbox and we said, swap everything. Let's put it up there. That's probably why our numbers were off, because my guy was like, oh, okay, I got to get it up there. We have a brand new pre-sale project that is coming to Mission. Again, Mission is a hot zone for development right now. We had the economic development officer come from the city of Mission a few months ago, and he talked about the push that this city is having for development. They are very, very developer friendly. They're very investor friendly, and they are making sure that, like, I talked to the guy, I said, okay, city of Maple Ridge takes up to 4 years to get a development permit. What are you guys looking at? And he's like, probably around 8 to 9 months. Crazy how fast they're pushing things through. So Mission condo starting at $369,000. Amazing prices. 1 bedrooms, 1 bedroom and den, junior 2 bedrooms, standard new development style stuff, connected to the downtown Vancouver through the West Coast Express. Now, I've been investing in the city of Mission for about 10 years, and I have always done very, very well in the city of Mission. And you do get tenants who work downtown but want to live in Mission because of that connectivity with the West Coast Express. Amenities include daycare and a gym. Prices starting again at $369,900 for 1 bedrooms, $404,000 for a 1 bed and den, $434,900 for a junior 2, and still under $500 for a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. So pretty good prices starting out. Now, a couple things to note. We have a few incentives that the developer has given us, and this does not go active to anyone till the end of the month. So you guys are hearing it now first. You guys can start picking your units in advance. So they have an assignment promo with $1,000 plus GST. So if you want to flip the condo in the future, that's huge savings, because normally it's around 3%. So on $500,000, it's about $11,000 in savings in your pocket. 10% deposit structure, so it's 5% at ROR, so 7 days after you write your contract, and 5% in 30 days, and it's a November 2025 completion. Great area in the city of Mission. Straight up Cedar, for anyone who's familiar, all the way up Cedar, up towards Cherry Ave. This is a nice area because you're really far north. You're not really in and around that downtown, not next to all the services that are provided for, the lack of a better word, not so nice people that we don't want to stay our tenants away from. So we're nice and north, but still easy access down Cedar towards that West Coast Express if your tenants need to use it. A huge opportunity for Airbnbs. Kelly, how many Airbnbs do you run in the city of Mission? 10, right? So clearly she's doing very well. I've got lots of clients running them in the city of Mission as well. So you could buy this thing. The plan could be, again, thinking about the back door, the exit strategy could be to buy this thing and turn it into an Airbnb in the future. Maybe it's to flip it if the market continues to pick up. You do have 2 years for the market to kind of change a little bit, right? So, maybe interest rates continue to drop. We see prices go up. There's different opportunities here. So if you have any questions, if you're interested about the product, reach out to one of us on the team who you typically reach out to, and we'd be more than happy to get you all the info tonight. All right. Jury, is the next slide this one, or is it after this? The announcement. Did we have anyone? No? Okay, no worries. Okay, let's flip our phones out. We got a whole bunch more QR codes coming. So don't forget, follow us on our social media. We have our excellent social media team. You can see all the cameras set up. The content they've been creating is phenomenal. Let's give Jordan, he's one of our newest videographers and content creators. Let's give him a round of applause. Because seriously, holding that gimbal the entire night and filming it, that is like, the guy's got muscles. So we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. You can also follow Kelly and I on our individual TikToks as well. We also have the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. Similar to, Russell, I got to get some more interviews going on here. I got to get back on track with it, but there's still lots of great episodes you guys can go and check out. And one of the big important ones that I really want to stress to the members here, join us on Facebook. If you haven't already, grab your phone out, scan this QR code, and join us on our Facebook group. This is where I do, we post articles that are relevant to investors. You can post opportunities that you're working on if you're looking for JV partners. This is a community we're working to build so you guys have access to other local investors that you can meet here and elsewhere across Canada. So I'll let everyone scan that. I see a few phones out. And every single Monday on that Facebook group at 10:30 a.m., I go live and we do a boots on the ground, what is happening in the real estate market. And the reason for that is the stats that I just showed you today, those were August stats. And guess what August was? ancient history already, because the market moves fairly quickly. So with having this boots on the ground look, we tell you current events that you guys need to know about. We talk about, you know, anything from the activity we're seeing at open houses, because that sometimes that's an indicator of buyer activity. We talk about the you know, the sales that are happening that you need to know about, plus, you know, advanced stuff. If we don't have an event coming up and we have a deal like this, we drop it there as well. All right. And that's basically it for us tonight. Our next meeting is going to be on October 19th. So make sure you save the date. Join the Facebook group because that's where we announce these as well. Or join us on meetup.com. Either one will let you know when these meetings are. That's it for me. It looks like we still have a little bit of food, some drink. Go and meet somebody new. And thank you so much for your time tonight. And everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us on YouTube tonight. I hope you guys took a lot out of this. If you have any questions about the real estate market or what's going on and looking to invest or on our hot deal, make sure you reach out to me. My number is 604-365-9771, or you can reach me at Cameron@thekellyfryteam.com. Thanks so much, and we're going to end the live stream now.